This is a pen, guys. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna Hey, hey, no, no. 1, 2, 3. Back to another video, and welcome to another episode of and Dec and Rach, Sunday, Funday, and Night, Part 1. Might do things differently here, guys. Differently. We're going to start with and Dec podcast. It is called Hanging Out. It is called Hanging Out with and Dec. So, from episode 1, which started on the 22nd of January, the regular podcast, they did the introduction, then also the they also did in today's app, and then they asked and Dec up and what's it all about? Well, since they moved away from each other, like miles away from each other, they away from each other and they spend more time with their own families. They didn't have much time to just hang out with each other. So, yeah, so I just went into a day with each other. Like that. Anyway, so they thought they just spend more time with each other. So that's why they started this podcast, hanging out with Uncle Dec. But, guys, originally, that's not the case. I, I, I can tell you right now why the Saturday podcast is because of you guys. Well, if they, it's because they asked you guys and Dec asked you guys last year, jokingly, okay? They were like joking about it, about starting a podcast. They, yeah, jokingly that last year on I'm a Celebrity, uh, the after show show, which is called Jungle Club. If you haven't seen Jungle Club with Anton Deck, go ahead and watch that. It's really cool. It's really cool. Cool. I remember that Anton Deck was regularly saying that I wanted to start a podcast. And then I asked you guys, jokingly, they asked you guys if you guys are keen for them to start a podcast. And then they began being serious. And then they asked genuinely to you guys that if you're being serious about starting it, or them start a podcast, or Anton Duck to start a podcast. So that's what they did. That's how Hanging Out with Anton Duck podcast began. Anton Duck was joking last year in Jungle Club. In Jungle Club last year. About it. And don't say so itself. So that's how they did that. Then there was also, then they went in the podcast for episode one when they talked about resolutions, New Year resolutions, life with kids. They also started the word of the day, but and then and then and was trying to improve vocabulary. Maybe. So they started doing the word of the day in episode one. And then they started talking about bushes, things, and moved away from Dec to Wimbledon. Wimbledon, and 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 had to find a new butcher. And he was tossing between, so he found two bushes, in his area, and he was tossing and turning on which local butcher that he wanted to go with. I think maybe you don't he got and we eventually picked one and stuck with that one. More on that another time. I also were talking reminiscing class from the past. And then comes the first episode of Jack's Diary. And then after that story, reflection of that story. And then they started talking about the BAFTA, and then they started talking about the first sponsor, which is Dec and Rach. And then they started a voice backmail, which is reading your comments, reading your email, sorry, reading your email to them about their podcast as well. Yeah, I would say that. I would say that. Yeah. So yeah. So Benton Deck started reading the emails on their podcast, and then they started to play a game called "Who Would You Want at, at a Dinner Party?" It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. You should watch episode 1. And then they were going to but designing tattoos for Ant. It's almost time for Ant to get his tattoo by Dec. That was a promise and that was a pledge from Dec. And then, of course, I talked about I'm a celebrity. I'm a career. And then at the end of the episode, Ant was trying to the website, which was no, I don't even know myself. So it was something. That was that. Okay, well, then I did the first bonus video, and the first bonus video was the mystery dog, and they did guess who was behind the mystery dog, and then the reveal was really revealing with tarot cards, palm readings, and crystal readings. Mm-hmm. This is just episode 1 for part 1 of Sunday, Funday, and Night. Stay tuned for episode 2 to where I can tell you this is a bit like Dec's diary. Episode 2 is really interesting. Wait till next week to find out what happens in episode 2 of Hanging Out with Ed and Dec. See you later for part 2 of Sunday, Funday, and Night.